Reports coming out of the Senate this week show a tense confrontation between Senator Enyinnaya Abaribe and Senate President Godswill Akpabio, and it all centered on one issue that refuses to go away in Nigeria: electronic transmission of election results. What unfolded wasn't just shouting or drama for cameras, but a serious clash over how future elections should be handled. From accounts shared by journalists and observers inside the chamber, the tension started during discussions related to electoral reforms and oversight. Senator Abaribe reportedly pushed strongly for the idea that results should be transmitted electronically directly from polling units. His argument, according to those present, was simple. If Nigeria truly wants transparent elections, then technology must be allowed to play a bigger role, especially at the point where manipulation often happens. Senate President Akpabio, on the other hand, appeared less comfortable with how the issue was being raised and the direction the debate was going, which led to a heated exchange that momentarily brought proceedings to a standstill. Before we go deeper into what this means and why it matters, let me quickly say this: if you find these breakdowns helpful and you want clear explanations of what's really happening in Nigerian politics without the noise, please like this video, share it with others who care about the future of our country, subscribe to the channel, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Your engagement helps keep these conversations alive and visible. Now, back to what actually happened. According to local accounts, Senator Abaribe insisted that the Senate could not continue to avoid the issue of electronic transmission, especially given Nigeria's long history of disputed election results. He reportedly referenced past elections where figures announced at collation centers did not seem to match what voters witnessed at polling units. His position was that electronic transmission would reduce human interference, shorten the collation process, and build more confidence in the system. Senate President Akpabio, who controls proceedings in the chamber, reportedly pushed back, questioning the timing, the tone, and possibly the feasibility of such a move under current conditions. There were indications that concerns were raised about infrastructure, network coverage in parts of the country, and whether INEC currently has the capacity to fully implement nationwide electronic transmission without excluding some voters. As the exchange intensified, voices were raised, order was repeatedly called, and for a brief moment, the Senate's work slowed down as both men stood their ground. This is where the story becomes more than just a clash of personalities. The issue of electronic transmission is not new in Nigeria. It has come up repeatedly over the years, especially after closely contested elections. Supporters argue that it is one of the strongest tools against result manipulation, while opponents or skeptics often point to technical limitations, security risks, and the uneven development across different parts of the country. What made this moment stand out is that it happened at the highest legislative level, in full view of the public. When two senior figures like Abaribe and Akpabio clash openly over an issue like this, it signals that the debate is far from settled. It also shows that there are deep divisions within the political class about how much transparency they are truly willing to allow into the electoral process. For many Nigerians watching from outside the National Assembly, this confrontation struck a nerve. In nearby communities and across social media, reactions range from applause for Abaribe's insistence on reform to concern about the Senate's ability to calmly and constructively handle such a sensitive issue. Some citizens see Abaribe's stance as speaking for the ordinary voter who wants their vote to count. Others worry that the constant back and forth without clear resolution only delays meaningful progress. To understand why this matters, you have to look at the bigger picture. Elections are the foundation of democracy. When people believe their votes will be accurately counted and transmitted, participation increases and post-election tensions reduce. When trust is low, every election becomes a potential crisis. Electronic transmission, if properly implemented, is widely seen as a way to close the gap between what happens at the polling unit and what is eventually announced. At the same time, it's important to be realistic. Nigeria is a complex country with vast differences in infrastructure between regions. Reports indicate that some areas still struggle with reliable network access, electricity, and security. These challenges are often cited by those who argue for a gradual or hybrid approach rather than an immediate full rollout of electronic transmission. What happened between Abaribe and Akpabio also raises questions about leadership and how dissenting views are handled in the Senate. A healthy democracy allows for strong disagreements without shutting down debate. Observers noted that the standoff, while uncomfortable, exposed the real tensions beneath the surface and forced the issue into the open where Nigerians could see it clearly. Another layer to this story is timing. With future elections always on the horizon, discussions around electoral reforms naturally become more intense. Politicians are aware that changes to the system can significantly affect outcomes. This is why debates like this often become emotional and highly charged, especially when trust between political actors is already fragile. For the average Nigerian, the key takeaway is not who shouted louder or who appeared more forceful. The real question is whether this confrontation will lead to concrete action or simply fade away like many past debates. Will the Senate take clear steps to strengthen the legal framework for electronic transmission, or will the issue once again be postponed? It's also worth noting that public pressure plays a role here. When citizens stay informed, ask questions, and demand accountability, it becomes harder for critical issues to be quietly dropped. Moments like this confrontation shine a spotlight on where leaders truly stand beyond press statements and campaign promises. As the dust settles, reports suggest that discussions may continue behind closed doors, with committees and stakeholders weighing options. Whether that leads to meaningful reform remains to be seen. What is certain is that the exchange between Abaribe and Akpabio has reopened a national conversation that affects every voter.